The day's news is unfolding right now. That's at the Tribunal. It has huge ramifications for the main event here on Thursday night. Tuesdays is delivering as Tribunal night in this fresh season.
But just stop doing it. The AFL sent out a memo that couldn't have been clearer, saying not only is that a free kick, but it's reportable. You cannot do it.
That's reportable for mine. Can't just be stationary on the ground and chuck your knee into the... I mean, there's all sorts of organs there that are dangerous.
I've got my old man's words ringing through my ears, and he would be talking about ruckcraft and the responsibility of both ruckmen to use their knee to protect themselves.
Oh, well, Chris is right. I mean, all coaches, I think it was end of March, got a memo about this trend of rucks starting to use the knee as more of a weapon rather than to protect themselves. And so the clarity was really good.
Oh, that's a dangerous sling. Oh, he's slumming them.
I believe that getting slammed into the turf with your head and your arms pinned is more dangerous than a bump in a lot of circumstances. So I think this action now is suspendable.
Close. Oh, head dumped into the ground. That is a dangerous tackle from Will Day there. We may hear more about that one.
It's run as a broadcast, is it? So that's... I've listened to the broadcast recently. They're not great.
He's getting a little bit cranky because things aren't going according to plan. But what I do love about him is he always goes into bat for his players. He can only be clumsy so often and so deliberately clumsy so often.
Will you follow the events of the Tribunal tomorrow night? Because whether Harry McKay plays or doesn't play does have a rather significant impact on the clash.
Well, we'll definitely keep an eye on it. It does change a fair bit of how we go into the game. We won't change a lot of what we're doing. We just know that it's one less 200-centimetre player that can clunk it and kick goals.
Will Harry McKay be here when the Blues front up to the Crows on Thursday night? David Zita is following events at the AFL Tribunal tonight. David, welcome.
Thanks, G.
What has transpired?
Well, Harry McKay will be fronting up against the Adelaide Crows on Thursday night to open gather round. This verdict has just come through. He is free to play. So Carlton came in arguing that this was a push and not a strike. They said that if it was deemed a strike, impact should be downgraded from medium to low. The Blues said that McKay was executing, and I quote, the kick accuracy interference technique. They even showed a still image of Harry Sheezel giving the thumbs up to McKay after the incident, and they showed a still image of the incident that appeared to show initial contact with the shoulder of Harry Sheezel. McKay came forward to give evidence, and he said that at no point did he intend to make contact with the head of Harry Sheezel, and he said he spoke to him a couple of minutes after the incident, and Sheezel said, no dramas, I'm fine. He said he used his forearm to cover more surface area as opposed just to the hand or trying to corral Harry Sheezel. The AFL then put to him that he should have slowed down or he should have changed his momentum. McKay said that's just not really realistic, considering the fact that he was coming in at significant force, and this took place within, an instance of a second, really. So the AFL argued that the way McKay's arms were held, as well as the fact of his momentum, meant that his action was not reasonable in the circumstances, and that also a guideline says that impact can be upgraded from low to medium if dangerous acts are to occur. So they deliberated the tribunal for just over an hour, and they came back and said McKay was careless, but critically, impact was not medium, it was downgraded to low. So they said McKay did not move in a way to increase the force in this incident. He separated his arms as he slides up in a way that appears to demonstrate an attempt to reduce the force of impact. We don't consider, they said, his impact had real potential for a head injury. The blow Sheezel suffered was the sort of blow he was always likely to suffer from this incident. So it spits out careless conduct with low impact and high contact, and it means a one-match ban is downgraded to a fine, and he's free to play against the Adelaide Crows, Jared.
David, thank you. I'm going to let you go and sit through the Tom Lynch cases, as will be the case in every lounge room around the country, as there was a murmur that went through. Now, I agree with the outcome, Dermot. I think that is low impact, but I've never heard so much mumbo-jumbo in all my life. The kick accuracy interference technique, I might have tossed them out just when they introduced that.
It's got a new title now, so we can use... That will come up again now. The kick accuracy interference technique, which we know it's just been called something else, putting pressure on in the past. I can understand that, though, because if you were trying to hurt somebody, you hit them there. You don't do that and get them both between there. So I don't think his intention was to hurt or injure him. And reading him and the way he did it, he hit it and went, oh, what have I done? I think he semi-pulled out of it thinking, oh, I've put too much pressure into that. I'm sailing too close to the wind. So I don't think the intention was to be vicious by any stretch of the imagination.
It's big for the game. So we know during the day Carlton have lost Sam Doherty for 4 to 6 weeks, so he's not going to be here. But the dual threat, which is it's Carlton's
Charlie,
point of difference, isn't it, Harry and Charlie? And they finally combined so well on Good Friday. They bring that here Thursday night. It has a huge impact on this clash.
Absolutely. Well, it was bound to happen that they were going to work well together. You get enough forward entries inside your end of the ground, you're going to work it out together, and they're both really talented players. So it was bound to click at some stage, and let's hope it keeps... Oh, sorry for Adelaide people. Let's hope it keeps clicking this weekend.
Tom Lynch's case is about to begin, so summoned to the tribunal. That's how the gradings panned out. This simply swings on whether this is careless or not. And the tribunal's been really specific in telling players how they are expected to contest the ball. Does Lynch contest the ball in any sort of way that could see him beat a careless charge here?
So what I read into this marking contest is Tom realises I'm going to be sandwiched here and I could get injured. I'm pulling out of the actual contest. He feigns as if his hands are up after the contact, but that's only after he knows and makes braced contact with the elbows in. That's a protection mode. Having said that, he's willing to put the onus of protection on the other person.
Yep. So you can't protect... You fail your duty of care. If you choose to protect yourself and leave an opponent concussed, I think you're going to be held culpable for that from now on.
If he puts his hands up and definitely goes for it, he's a real chance to get injured.
Yep.
And we would say, how brave was that? So at that time, he decided self-preservation, and I'll wear the contact. One of these blokes is going to have to wear a bit more of it than the other. The bloke coming at him, he doesn't know, from behind, he doesn't know where his body is, so he knows that one, so he braces into that I still don't think it's vicious.
No, doesn't have to be. It just has to be careless.
Yeah. Well, it was not a terribly well applied distraction or diversion.
That's as much as I'll ever get out of you thinking a player might be guilty at the tribunal. Your Honour, I rest my case.
He's off.
The MRO has come back tonight with the events from Easter Monday. So that ruck action has been hotly debated. Lloyd Meek has been charged with careless conduct, medium impact and to the body. He's been fined $3,000 to be reduced to $2,000. Now, the interesting part of this is precisely what happened with Tom De Koning a couple of weeks ago. He challenged in writing and got let off. So the MRO has consistently applied what he'd done previously. Now it rests, I presume, with the tribunal because Hawthorn will follow Carlton's lead here and appeal.
Yeah. It is different to the Marcus Pittonet one. The action at the end is similar, but Pittonet comes across the line against De Koning in week 1 and makes that contact. What happens here is, there you go. See, he's at the line. He comes into him, forward into him. What Lloyd Meek does is he stays on his side of the line. The bounce goes over and sits Meek under the ball. Now, the action Meek makes by putting his knee up is a 100-year-old ruck technique protection method. That can't be disputed. That's the way we have always taught ruckmen. Put your knee up in the ruck. If you are vulnerable, you put your knee up. And when the ball doesn't bounce straight up, and why we still bounce it, I've always been a proponent for bouncing it. Let's just start throwing it up so this doesn't happen, because it bounced and it made me backpedal and it hovers over his head. See how far he is from the centre line? That means he knows I'm sitting under this and he can run and jump at me and put his knee up. Blitzarves looks at him and doesn't look at the ball, so he doesn't time his jump. Now, if there's real ruck technicians out there, they would see this and they'd know that. There's an onus on the umpires through throwing it up to get it straight, and we take that out of it.
Yeah, so no more on that front. It'd be really interesting to see if the tribunal actually supports it this time around. That sling tackle dump tackles, so 2 dangerous tackles, both suspensions. Gary Rowan suspended for 1 week. This has come back as medium impact. I felt like these would both be suspensions, but there is a difference between the two. Rowan gets 1 week and Will Day gets 2 weeks. The impact here is regarded as medium, and the impact in the next one you'll see is regarded as high. So that is, we have moved across the threshold, which is good for the game. We are judging the action, not the outcome. So that action is no good.
No,
we
I
have
can
to
agree
rid
with
the game of that. That's a week.
I dislike it still, that the week suspension, because there's no injury. He got his hand free.
And then
so you saw that was 270 degrees.
Tackle.
Yeah, he takes him down. There's no sling there. It does look violent, the end bit of it, but he just takes him straight to ground. I don't think either of them are intended to injure the opposition. The second one, and people say, oh, Hawthorn, Geelong.
I think that'll end up at the Tribunal.
Couldn't give a fat rat's. We're here in Adelaide for Malcolm Blight. I just thought with the Rowan one, he got slung, CJ got slung 270 degrees. The other one, he just went face first, pulled down hard. There was no sling in it. Is it dangerous? Probably is. So it's a hard determination, but I can't understand how one's worth 2, which I thought was the lesser of the 2 evils.
So it has to be on the medical report, which I haven't seen yet. I've made inquiries on that front. I think Day will is a sort of Hawthorn are obliged to go to the Tribunal and see.
I'd agree with
I am comfortable. The action though is reportable. I think that's progress from the game. Did you hear that thunder?